Hey, Celtics Nation. What a weekend it has been for Boston. 2 games against the Orlando Magic gave us plenty to talk about. And while the results were split, there's a lot more to take away than just a win and a loss. The focus right now isn't only on the scoreboard. It's on the growth we're seeing from players who are fighting to earn their spot in this rotation. And right in the middle of that conversation stands Jordan Walsh. This kid is quickly turning heads, and you can feel the buzz around him growing louder every time he steps on the floor. The energy, the effort, the defensive presence. Walsh is slowly making it impossible for Joe Mazzulla to take him off the court. Now, if you've been following Boston closely, you know defense has always been the identity that keeps this team grounded. And Walsh fits that mold perfectly. Watching him this weekend, you could see flashes of something special. Raw athleticism combined with that nose for the ball that only a few players are born with. He's young, just 21 years old, but his instincts make him look seasoned. There's a moment in every game where he just seems to be in the right place, poking at passes, anticipating drives, and making those hustle plays that don't always show up on the stat sheet but completely shift momentum. For someone still learning the ropes, that's impressive. What makes this even more interesting is how it impacts Boston's rotation depth. We've seen this movie before. Different young guys taking turns in the spotlight, each trying to carve out their niche. One week it's Baylor Shyman getting attention, the next it's Josh Maynot, and now it's Walsh's time. The competition for those reserve forward minutes is fierce, and that's a great problem for the Celtics to have. The team suddenly finds itself with multiple wings capable of defending multiple positions. In a league where versatility is king, that's pure gold. What stood out over the weekend is how Walsh looked comfortable in moments where earlier in his career he might have looked nervous or rushed. He's playing with a calmness, a sense of purpose, and you can tell he's starting to understand his role. Joe Mazzulla has built a culture where minutes have to be earned, not given. And Walsh is doing exactly that. He's showing that his impact doesn't rely on scoring 15 points a night. He changes the game by being disruptive, by getting deflections, by turning defense into offense. That's the kind of thing that earns trust from a coach and teammates alike. The tough part for a young player in his situation, though, is that there's zero room for error. The NBA isn't forgiving. When you're fighting for minutes behind veterans, a couple of bad possessions can send you right back to the bench. Walsh knows it, and you can see in how locked in he is on every play. That's the challenge, staying sharp, consistent, and ready every single night. Because on this team, there's always someone else ready to step in. If Walsh struggles for a few minutes, Mazzulla has options. Hugo Shyman, Maynot. All of them bring something similar to the table. It's a cycle we've seen again and again this season. But the encouraging part is that each of these young guys has shown flashes of potential, flashes that hint at a deeper bench than many expected at the start of the year. That competition within the roster keeps everyone accountable. Nobody can get comfortable, not even for a second. If you want those 20 minutes, you've got to go out there and earn every single one of them. And in a strange way, that might be what's driving this group's development. They're pushing each other to be better because they know there's no safety net. You play well, you stay on the floor. You slip up, someone else gets their chance. It's pure meritocracy, and it's building a kind of internal toughness that's going to pay off later in the season. And speaking of later in the season, imagine what that means for Boston when the playoffs come around. You want to have options, you want flexibility. When matchups start to dictate lineups, having several players who can defend, rebound, and fill gaps becomes a serious advantage. If one guy doesn't have it on a given night, you can plug in another without losing identity. That's the kind of depth that separates real contenders from everyone else. There's also the financial reality that makes this even more valuable. In the modern NBA, especially under the new salary cap rules, teams can't afford to have expensive veterans filling out every backup spot. Developing young, cheap, effective contributors like Walsh or Hugo or Shyman isn't just about basketball. It's smart business. When your 7th, 8th, and 9th men can all contribute on rookie or minimum contracts, that gives your front office breathing room to keep your stars together longer. But make no mistake, what Walsh is doing right now isn't about future planning. It's about seizing the moment. You could feel it against Orlando. You play like a guy who knows the door is open, and he's sprinting through it before someone else can close it. He brought intensity on every possession. His communication on defense was sharp, and he never looked lost. That's huge. Most young players need time to adapt to the speed and complexity of NBA defenses. Walsh looks like he's already finding his rhythm. It's a small sample size, sure, but it's not just flashes anymore. There's a pattern emerging. He's impacting games through effort, through feel, through that defensive presence that coaches love. And even if he still has a long way to go offensively, it doesn't matter as much when he's this effective on the other end. The Celtics don't need him to be a scorer. They need him to be a spark, a disruptor, a connector. He's doing exactly that, and the results are starting to show. You could tell from the way his teammates reacted that they see it too. They trust him now. When he rotates, they rotate behind him. When he dives for a loose ball, they follow his lead. That's how chemistry starts to build, not through highlight plays, but through effort and reliability. Walsh is earning respect the hard way, and that's going to make all the difference for him long term. What's even better for Boston is that this kind of internal development adds an entirely new dimension to what was already one of the best rosters in basketball. The stars, Tatum, Brown, Holiday, they're doing their thing. But when you start to get legitimate contributions from a bench, it makes the whole machine more dangerous. You can rest your starters a bit more, keep everyone fresh, and trust that the energy won't dip when you go to your reserves. That's exactly what teams like the Celtics need to sustain a long playoff run. And it's not just Walsh. The fact that players like Hugo Gonzalez or Josh may not have had moments of their own shows how deep this rotation can be. Sure, not every experiment will stick, but that's fine. The key is having options, and right now Boston has plenty. There's still a long way to go, but this stretch has revealed something important. This isn't just a team built on talent at the top. It's a group filled with hungry players ready to make an impact whenever their number is called. Now, Celtics Nation, while Jordan Walsh's emergence is the story that's grabbing headlines, there's another layer to what we're seeing on the court that deserves attention. How the plus-minus numbers are shaping perceptions of players, and sometimes how they completely contradict what you see with your own eyes. Take Jaylen Brown, for example. Here's a guy having what many would consider an all-NBA level season, doing everything right offensively, finishing plays, creating opportunities, and yet his on-off numbers this season have been surprising, to say the least. Against Orlando, against Houston, there were stretches where his team seemed to struggle whenever he was on the floor, at least according to the stats. It seems counterintuitive, and it almost feels like a paradox. How can one of your best scorers, a guy doing so much on both ends of the floor, register a negative impact? But that's the NBA for you. Numbers tell one story, eye test tells another, and sometimes the truth lies somewhere in between. The reality is, Jaylen is often on the floor during the runs where the team is struggling, and sometimes the negative numbers reflect more about the context than his actual performance. He's taking on tough defensive assignments, he's playing extended minutes, and he's sharing the court with players who are still developing. That combination can skew numbers, especially early in the season when rotations are being tested and lineups are shifting constantly. Meanwhile, players like Nimish Kata, who play fewer minutes and often in controlled situations, show staggering plus-minus numbers that can look almost unbelievable. In some ways, it highlights how much context matters when interpreting stats. Kata might be plus 30, while Jaylen is minus 4, but that doesn't mean Jaylen isn't performing at an elite level. It means the situations they're in are vastly different. This juxtaposition, however, adds another fascinating layer to Boston's team-building story. The Celtics are not just managing minutes. They're managing matchups, rotations, and player development simultaneously. Every night becomes a chess game, figuring out who gets time, against whom, and in what capacity. That's what makes watching this team so compelling. You never know exactly what you'll get from one game to the next, which player will step up, and which matchup will decide the flow. It keeps the season dynamic and every possession meaningful, because you can feel the weight of each decision on the floor. And that's why depth matters so much. The Celtics have options. When one player struggles, there's always someone else ready to step in. Whether it's Luka Garza hitting double-digit points off the bench or Hugo Gonzalez defending multiple positions, the team can adjust without losing cohesion. That adaptability is crucial, especially when thinking ahead to the playoffs. In a 7-game series, matchups shift constantly, players get tired, and injuries happen. Having multiple players capable of filling key roles means Boston doesn't have to rely solely on stars to carry the load. It spreads responsibility, keeps everyone engaged, and allows the team to maintain intensity throughout a long season. The other fascinating piece of the puzzle is how this impacts the young players themselves. There's a constant pressure to perform, to take advantage of every minute because nobody's spot is guaranteed. And yet, that pressure can be transformative. Jordan Walsh isn't just improving because he's talented. He's improving because every game is an audition, every play matters, and every possession is a chance to prove he belongs. That environment breeds growth. Players who might have coasted in a different system are forced to elevate their game, think faster, react quicker, and develop a competitive edge that shows up in crunch moments. For Boston, it's like watching a laboratory in motion, seeing who thrives, who adapts, and who is ready to take the next step. Of course, the story isn't complete without mentioning the stars. Tatum, Brown, and Holiday continue to anchor this team, providing consistent scoring, leadership, and experience. But it's the interplay between the established stars and the emerging bench that defines the team's identity this season. The blend of veteran talent and youthful energy creates a balance that is both thrilling to watch and strategically advantageous. When the starters need rest or are facing tough matchups, the bench can step in without a dramatic drop in performance. That's not easy to achieve, and Boston is showing glimpses of mastering it. As we look closer at the statistical anomalies, like Kata's absurd plus-minus or Jalen's early season negatives, it's clear that numbers can be deceiving if taken in isolation. Context is everything. The minutes, the matchups, the sequence of runs, and the surrounding lineup all shape what those numbers tell us. And yet, even with those quirks, the Celtics' broader trend is encouraging. Players are finding their niches, the team is experimenting with lineups, and the results are slowly coalescing into a more coherent, competitive group. The experimentation phase is producing tangible benefits, especially in defensive versatility and bench scoring, which are critical in today's NBA. Another key takeaway is the emergence of a culture where effort and hustle are rewarded. Whether it's a deflection, a loose ball recovery, or a timely rotation, these contributions are increasingly valued. Players like Walsh or Kata are shining because the system recognizes their unique impact, not just traditional scoring or assist metrics. That cultural reinforcement ensures that the Celtics remain competitive across all 5 positions on the floor, encouraging players to embrace their roles fully and maximize their strengths. It's a subtle but significant advantage that can pay huge dividends in close games and high-stakes playoff situations. And while we're still in the early stages of the season, the strategic flexibility Boston has developed is exciting. They can mix lineups, exploit matchups, and make in-game adjustments with a confidence that only comes from knowing your bench can hold up. Every possession matters, every rotation counts, and every player's contribution has weight. The result is a team that is not only resilient, but also adaptable, capable of navigating the ebbs and flows of an NBA season while maintaining a competitive edge. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are swirling around the Boston Celtics locker room, and this one is loud enough to shake the parquet floor of TD Garden. According to multiple unnamed sources close to the team, DERRICK White has reportedly refused to share the court again with fellow star Jason Tatum. While the Celtics organization has remained silent so far, insiders claim tensions between the two players have been simmering for months and may have finally reached a breaking point. It all began, according to those in the know, with what seemed like small disagreements on and off the court. White, known for his quiet professionalism and team-first mentality, is said to have grown increasingly frustrated with what he perceives as a lack of accountability and cohesion in the Celtics' offensive hierarchy. Tatum, the franchise's cornerstone and face of the team, reportedly took issue with White's comments during a closed-door meeting, and from there the relationship deteriorated. The rumor took flight after a recent practice session, when witnesses allegedly saw White leave the court abruptly after a heated exchange with Tatum. It wasn't just a disagreement, one source hinted. It felt personal. White didn't look like he wanted to be there anymore. While no cameras caught the incident, word spread quickly among team staff and players, fueling speculation about deeper internal issues. Those close to the Celtics organization are downplaying the story, calling it overblown and just part of competitive basketball. But some league insiders believe this could signal something more serious, possibly even a locker room divide. With both players being crucial to Boston's recent success, such friction could have major implications for the team's chemistry and long-term plans. Neither White nor Tatum has made a public statement, and the Celtics front office has yet to comment officially. Still, the whispers continue to echo. Has Derrick White really drawn a line in the sand? Or is this just another case of rumor and rivalry in the high-pressure world of NBA superstardom? For now, the question remains unanswered, but in Boston, the buzz is impossible to ignore. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.